Welcome. Bienvenidos a todos. I'm glad to see all of you joining us tonight for the orientation session to our spring 2026 semester of Conchas y Café. Para todos que son nuevos, mi nombre es Luis Antonio Pichardo. I am the founder and executive director of DSTL Arts. Y estoy acompañado, como siempre, with one of the best colleagues I could ask for in the world, el Don Abraham Jaramillo. Say what's up, Abraham.
Sup.
Con su trompetita y todo. But yeah, it's good to see all of you here. Those of you that are new, welcome, of course. Those of you that are returning, I'm very happy to have you all here joining us again. Y como dije antes de empezar la sesión, in the chat on Zoom, I am uploading the orientation packet that we will be covering for today. So I'm going to upload it one more time for you to download it and have access to it as we go. I'll try not to spend too much time, like reading every single thing. Y como somos una clase bilingüe, estaremos intercambiando entre las idiomas. I will be code switching back and forth between English and Spanish. If at any point you have any questions, those of you that might be watching on the live streams, you're welcome to, use the chat feature in whichever live stream you are participating in. And of course, those of you here on Zoom, you get the first benefit of asking your questions. And we'll do our best to answer as many of them as possible. Y empezaremos con el paquete, the kind of introduction that we like to give for everyone who is new to the program. Aquí tenemos el paquete que vamos a repasar. I hope everyone is able to see it okay. First things first, I always like to give props to the whole team that is DSTL Arts, no soy solo yo. Of course, you can see there, I am the founder and executive director, like I mentioned earlier. And we have Abraham Jaramillo, who is our master teaching artist. Like I said, uno de los mejores colegas que he tenido en pretty much my entire creative career. So shout out to Abraham. We also, on our team, have Angelica Castañeda, or Angie, as she is generally known by. Angie is our program coordinator and is one of the mentors in our Poet Artist Development Program. And we also have Naomi Valdivia. Naomi is the managing editor of Artistic Zine. Artistic Zine is one of the 4 primary programs that we have in our organization. Y pues, you could obviously get to know us a little bit more as the weeks go by, but generally speaking, each one of us who form part of the core team of DSTL Arts are artists. We're all working artists in our own right. Most of us are poets, most of us are visual artists, and practically all of us are photographers. So, we do practice a lot of different mediums here at DSTL Arts. This class, of course, is going to focus a bit more on creative writing as far as the lessons go, pero, we'll incorporate other things every now and then. I do get this question a lot. What does DSTL stand for? And it is, in fact, an acronym. It stands for Develop Skills and Transcend Limits Through the Arts. Our mission is to essentially inspire, teach, and hire emerging artists from underserved communities. And we exist really to serve individuals from historically marginalized communities, the communities that I grew up in. And, we all come from different places in the region of LA and Southern California and beyond, really. But that does not necessarily mean that, we all had access to the arts. So we're all coming from a place where, we grew up without it in our lives. We grew up without some of the, exactly. We have some folks from Pluto. But we all grew up with a lot of different experiences that we, are trying to, in some ways, transcend, as you see here. I also recommend, for those of you that may not be following us, to follow on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X using @DSTL Arts, and especially show Artistic Zine some love. Artistic Zine has its own Facebook and Instagram. It is, again, one of the 4 primary programs that we offer, and Artistic Zine specifically has its own special platform that we use to celebrate the autistic artists that we showcase. También es bueno tener a bookmark to the Conchas y Café zine page on our website. This specific web page is going to be where the recordings and the handouts for this particular workshop series will exist as the program is running. So if you are missing a session, or you just simply want to re-watch some of the recordings, that's going to be the easiest way to find us. Of course, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of the recordings will live on YouTube in perpetuity. Aquí tengo la misma información en español para los que quieren conocer un poco más sobre la organización. DSTL Arts significa desarrolla habilidades y trasciende límites a través de las artes. Eso es lo que significa DSTL. Y nuestra misión es inspirar, enseñar y entrenar a artistas emergentes de comunidades bajo servidas. Existimos principalmente para apoyar a artistas como nosotros, gente que quizá creció sin acceso a diferentes entrenamientos, diferentes oportunidades profesionales como artistas. Y aquí estamos para apoyar a todos ustedes. Y como acabo de mencionar, también les sugiero que aguarden entre su browser, su web browser, la página de DSTL Arts y Conchas y Café Zine en particular, porque ahí es a donde se encontrarán las grabaciones de las clases y también los folletos que vamos a estar repasando cada semana. Does anyone have any questions so far? A little bit of background here for those of you that are new to the DSTL Arts world. I started the organization in 2012, and since then we have been working with various communities to provide creative writing classes, poetry, short stories, all the things that you could think of in terms of creative writing, as well as other forms of visual art and visual storytelling. Abraham and I have taught classes around mental health, classes that focus on other historical injustices in our neighborhoods, like redlining and the development of the transit systems, all of those things. And part of the reason why I started DSTL Arts is because I wanted people to think of themselves as something greater than a starving artist. We really want to push people to feel empowered as working artists. And things that really drive me personally are some of the statistics that you see here. As of 2025, as of the last year, 42% of all jobs within the creative economy that are in California are located in LA County. Now, that might not be that surprising to some of you, but what might be surprising is that nearly 7% of all the jobs in LA County are part of the creative economy. That's almost 1 out of every 10. Now, it used to be 1 out of 5. There used to be actually more, but the economy has really, been hurt by a lot of different things that have happened over the last probably like 5 years or so. So the jobs have slowly been kind of going away. But even so, the majority of jobs in the creative economy are here in LA County. And of those jobs, over half of them, 55% of them, are held by people who identify as white. And less than 19% of those jobs are held by people who identify as Latinx. And as of 2024, only 2.2% of those jobs were held by people who identify as Black. Those are huge disparities, especially when you think of the actual population of LA County as a whole. As a whole, the Latinx community is 49% of the population of LA County. We are almost exactly half of the people who live in LA County. And as a whole, between all Latinos, Asians, Pacific Islanders, Black people, everyone, we make up about 75% of the community of LA County. And only 25.6% of LA County's people are white, non-Hispanic. So to see that over 55% are, in the creative economy, like those jobs are held by more than half of those jobs are held by white people. I think that it's a pretty startling thing to see sometimes actually put on paper. So it's, I think, important that organizations like ours continue to provide people with access to not only an education in the arts, but also opportunities to have their work put out there in the world. And for those that might be curious, these statistics mostly come from the Otis College Creative Economy dashboard. This link to the dashboard is actually active on the PDF. So you can click on the PDF and it will take you to the website. And then the population data comes from the US Census. So that data is current. It is from the most recent data available to us. Como dije, estaremos también hablando un poco en español y sobre todo quiero mostrarle a ustedes que quizá no captaron toda la información en inglés, lo que acabo de repasar sobre la información demográfica de Los Ángeles. El condado de Los Ángeles es casi el 50% hispano y en total somos casi el 75% gente de color, de diferentes culturas aparte de angloamericana. Y solo el 25.6% del pueblo de Los Ángeles es angloamericano. Pero ellos forman la mayor parte de la fuerza laboral creativa en Los Ángeles. Ellos son el 55% de la fuerza laboral. Mientras tanto, los hispanos y afroamericanos somos juntos casi el 20% de la fuerza laboral. Y de todos los trabajos que existen en California, en el estado de California, que forman parte de la economía creativa, como se llama, el 42% están aquí en Los Ángeles. Así que es un montón de trabajos que pues no tenemos, ¿verdad? It's a 360-degree change, dice Abraham. Yeah, it's a really big gap between, the type of people who are telling stories, creating stories for a living, versus those of us that are living in these stories. I think that's another way of looking at how this data really impacts our community. So I like to share that because it really does, I think, demonstrate why all of you are very important to us. Yes, Abraham?
Just to pitch in, I don't know if you were seeing some awards and somebody was walking the red carpet and they were for foreign films and they gave him the award right on the walking path or like the red carpet, like kind of instead of giving the award and the actual ceremony. That's the reason they came for, right? And so it kind of shows the disparity we're talking about.
Yeah, that says a lot. Not even let into the door and you're already like given the award and told, okay, you can leave now. Yeah.
Very much.
So, yeah. So again, it's really important that we're aware of this, and that that all of you be informed as to why your stories are important and why we value them. So part of the structure that we like to take here at DSTL Arts is to look at things from these 4 different perspectives. We look at things from the point of view of the story, how your story is developed. We look at things through the lens of the metaphor and how the metaphor might help to reinforce your stories. We also talk a lot about the design process, which includes editing and revising. Those things are very, very important in making sure that your story is being told as accurately to your intent, which is the last one. We want to make sure that your intent is preserved, that your intent is clear. In the end, we like to say that we don't believe in good art over bad art or high art versus low art. We don't think that that's actually a proper way of talking about artwork. We only believe in artwork that is effective. we try to really encourage you to think about how effectively you're telling your stories. And that doesn't mean that you're lacking in any way. It's just, we want to make sure that the story is as preserved as possible for your sake, as well as our sakes. Como acabo de mencionar, nosotros estamos aquí para pues apoyar a todos de ustedes y estamos aquí también para enseñarles de diferentes puntos de ver cómo vamos a analizar su arte. De esa manera estamos aquí también presentando diferentes, como diría, técnicas para entender cómo es que estamos creando arte eficaz. Porque, en fin, eso es lo que estamos pues queriendo sacar de ustedes. Un arte, un cuento que cuenta todo lo que es necesario de su punto de ver. Y como digo, como se ve aquí, no coincidimos con el concepto del arte bueno sobre el arte malo, ni el arte clásico versus el arte bajo. Lo que queremos ver es que toman todo con intención, que contemplen el diseño de sus cuentos, de sus obras, y que estén usando metáfora y cuento para reforzar uno y el otro, junto con lo demás que están intentando formar. Como digo, no voy a repasar todo letra por letra porque va a tomar demasiado tiempo, pero si quieren ver más o conocer más sobre todo lo que vamos a estar enseñando, pueden bajar este archivo de nuestra página de web en unos cuantos días y pueden repasar todo así más a detalle. Again, I'm not going to go over every single thing here, but just know that the 4 programs that we offer through DSTL Arts that are free for the community include our original program, the Poet Artist Development Program, which focuses more on mentorship and entrepreneurial skill development. We also have Art Block Zine and our Art Block podcast. Abraham and I, every season, we offer Art Block, the workshop series that builds up to Art Block Zine. We also host the podcast. Ultimately, we call it our love letter to LA, and it is specific to LA County-based artists. Artistic Zine, which I already mentioned, it highlights the work of autistic artists from across the US. It is led by our very own Naomi Valdivia, and every year it does produce a zine that has a theme to it that, again, is exclusively featuring the work of autistic artists. And the reason why you are here tonight is because of our Conchas y Café Bilingual Community Writing Workshop Series, which is a 15-week series that is offered twice a year in the fall and the spring. And it is open to pretty much everyone, writers of all levels. Aquí no se discrimina. Otra vez en español, aquí tenemos un poco de información sobre los programas de DSTL Arts, los 4 programas que ofrecemos que siempre serán gratis para la comunidad, para ustedes quienes quieren participar. Y obviamente están aquí porque quieren conocer más sobre Conchas y Café. Blink if you are here for poetry. Exactly. All right. So does anyone have any questions at the moment before I review this? For Conchas y Café, what is the surface of a CD? I'll try to answer that question after. So, to sort of set up some of our goals for you and our expectations of you, I do have this little list here, which I will go into a little bit more detail. As I mentioned already, Conchas y Café, our goal as an organization is to offer this twice a year, again, in the spring and in the fall. And it will generally be 15 weeks long. Sometimes it's maybe 1 week less because of holidays, but we really do try to keep it at 15 weeks. As part of our annual publishing cycle, we do try to produce a new volume of Conchas y Café zine each year. This year it will be a digital version. So the work that people produced in the fall 2025 semester will be combined with the work that you produced this semester into a digital zine, partly because of our funding, So it will have a slightly different way of engaging with it, which also means that we'll have the opportunity to offer you the chance to experiment with other forms of media. So not only will you have the opportunity to create written poetry, but you may also have the opportunity to either digitally record your audio of you performing your poetry and have that featured in the actual zine, or even a video if you choose to submit a video this year of yourself performing your poetry. And that would be something that would be linked within the EPUB version of the zine. So that means that we're going to get a little bit high tech this time around with the way that we produce the zine. Of course, those things are optional. You can keep it with, the visual art or literary art that you decide to submit for publication. But that's something that we're going to be experimenting with this year. It's also our goal to provide you with constructive criticism on your writing, whether you decide to submit it for publication or not. You will always have that opportunity as part of this series to have work reviewed by us and also give you notes and feedback on how to make it just, the best that it can be. To that end, we do expect all of you to actively participate in the creation, editing, and submission of your work. It also should be original work that you create. We do have a policy that does not support the use of AI, nor does it support, obviously, plagiarism. We don't condone plagiarism. But generative AI kind of, skirts the line of what may or may not be plagiarism. So in general, we prefer that you not use generative AI as part of your art making process. In order for us to all benefit from you and your artwork, we really want you to attend all the lessons and workshops in a timely manner. Be here on time. All of the classes start at approximately 6:30 p.m. The Zoom opens up then, and we launch into the lessons when there are lessons, usually within 10 minutes of the start. And so if you're unable to make it to one of the sessions that we're teaching a lesson, we ask that you commit to watching the lesson after the fact. The recordings will be posted to our YouTube channel as well as our website, along with the handouts. And, we try to make it as easy and accessible for you as possible. When you participate in the workshopping sessions, which are part of this series, we also ask that you provide genuine constructive criticism and that you understand that, that's what's going to help your fellow program participants really polish their work and feel like their story is being heard and told in a way that is best suited for their intentions. And, if you're going to be putting in the work, dedicating the time and effort outside of the class to, create new work for us each week that we have a lesson, then, we obviously expect you to show the same sort of respect and courtesy to people during the workshopping sessions, because, all of us are sometimes making sacrifices for our art in that way. And we ask that you actively and openly communicate with us if you need support, if you feel like there's maybe technical support that you might need, if you feel like you may not meet a deadline that we're asking you to follow, or if you feel like other people are not living up to these expectations of you. So these are some of the things that we hope all of you kind of understand where we're coming from and support each other in meeting the expectations as well. Nosotros sí estamos dedicados a ofrecer 2 series de talleres. Aquí estamos trabajando para formar el nuevo volumen de Conchas y Café Zine. Juntaremos el trabajo que se entregó durante el semestre pasado del otoño, junto con el trabajo que ustedes van a producir este semestre, y se va a crear una versión digital de Conchas y Café Zine este año. Y eso nos presenta varias oportunidades para incorporar otros distintos métodos de comunicación, hay que decir. Van a tener la oportunidad de presentar su trabajo en forma de audio o video, que también van a formar parte del zine, si es que ustedes deciden hacer eso. Pero para que todo funcione como una comunidad, es importante que participen activamente en la creación, edición y la entrega de obras creativas cada vez que tenemos un taller. Y pues también, como acabo de mencionar, tenemos una política que básicamente no permite el uso del plagio ni de la inteligencia artificial generativa. Pero para que puedan participar bien y todos se puedan apoyar entre cada uno, esperamos que vengan, asisten puntualmente las lecciones que ofrecemos. Y si por alguna razón no pueden asistir a una clase en que tenemos una lección, por favor, tomen el tiempo de mirar la grabación, que siempre se va a encontrar en nuestra página de YouTube y también en la página web de DSTL Arts. Y en particular allí es a donde van a poder bajar el folleto que vamos a repasar con cada lección que se presente. Sí, también van a estar poniendo el tiempo, invirtiendo el tiempo en ustedes y el desarrollo de sus obras de arte. Pedimos que traten con el respeto el tiempo que se está poniendo de parte de la otra gente que está en la clase, y que vengan a las clases en que tenemos los talleres de crítica constructiva y que ofrezcan anotaciones sobre las obras que se van a presentar esos días, para que el resto del grupo también pueda ir aprendiendo y puliendo su trabajo de manera que pues muestre que están contando un cuento que represente a ellos, igual como a ustedes. Y si por alguna razón necesitan apoyo de parte de nosotros como los maestros, ya sea apoyo técnico o apoyo con extensiones de fechas de entrega, por favor comuniquen eso con nosotros lo más pronto posible. Y hablando de fechas, aquí tenemos las fechas de las clases. The program basically has two components: the creative writing lessons and then the writing workshop sessions. It is your responsibility to email us a doc version or a PDF version of your writing no later than the Friday before the next workshopping session. So the way that breaks down is next week, for example, the 3rd of February, we will have our very first creative writing lesson. And it might incorporate other things too. It might incorporate video. It might incorporate, visual art. We'll, be kind of playing around with different ways in which you can potentially do the homework assignments, quote unquote, that we provide at the end of each lesson. But because the lesson is going to be on the 3rd, that means that the Friday that follows that 6th of February, that would be when your homework is due to us. That's when we ask you to email it to us. It doesn't have to be final. It can be a draft. It can be ideas. It can be just fragments of something. And it will be something that we then will have enough time to essentially review and give you feedback on. The following 2 weeks, February 10th and February 17th, those will be workshopping sessions. Those sessions will be dedicated to you and your artwork. It'll be presented to the entire group, and each one of us will have the chance to give you feedback on it, help you develop your writing, help you develop the stories that you're telling, the poetry that you're expressing. It's really meant to give you that platform to share with others and see how it hits with them. Y pues estas fechas que ven aquí son las fechas en que vamos a estar tratando de pues pulir los trabajos hasta que lleguemos al último día. The final writing or artwork that you plan to submit to the zine will be due on 5 de Mayo of 2026. My apologies for that typo there. But it will be due on 5 de Mayo, And that will be a session where, it's a Tuesday session where I will be available to provide any kind of technical support for people struggling with Submittable, which is the platform that we use to gather the work. It's not going to be necessarily a workshopping day, but we do have that extra workshopping day built into the last 3 weeks of the class. So the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th will be the sessions, the last chance that you have to get, feedback on your writing. And as you can see, in total, we'll have 4 different lessons that Abraham and I will be trading back and forth in teaching. Does anyone have any questions about the structure of the class or the series, I should say? Is there anything you want to add to this, Abraham?
Nada.
No. Órale. También yo creo que ya es obvio, pero esta clase se va a dar principalmente de manera virtual. This is obviously a virtual class, and all of the sessions, including the lessons as well as the workshops, will be conducted over Zoom. Every week you will get an email. If you got it this week and you logged on through the email that you received, that is going to be very similar to what you will be receiving each week. For those of you that got a Google Calendar invite and used that to log on, that will be the same for the entire 15-week session. And really, we try to give you as many ways to be able to log on to Zoom. The only time that we will actually be recording the sessions is when there is a lesson. The rest of the time, todas estas fechas que ven aquí bajo talleres para la crítica, the workshopping sessions will not be recorded. So these sessions, these dates are when, you can come, you can have your camera on if you choose. These will be just for us to work through your artwork. Así que para ustedes que están participando, asistiendo por medio del Instagram Live or YouTube Live, if you're on one of the live streams, you will not have access to these particular sessions. Therefore, if you want to get feedback on your work, we suggest that you actually enroll into the class through our website. Again, these are going to be the 4 weeks that we actually have lessons that Abraham and I will be kind of tag teaming. Así que aquí, como digo, estas son las fechas y el último día de la serie va a ser el 5 de mayo. For the most part, we don't expect you to use Google Workspace to create your work. Again, it's up to you to email Abraham and me a PDF or a .doc version of your work. However, if you are using Google Docs, that will make it very easy for us to give you feedback. I know that Abraham and I have different ways in which we like to annotate people's writing. I personally prefer Google Docs. So if you email me a .doc or a PDF, I will probably convert it into a Google Doc and share it with you that way. Are we able to share the link with you in email? Yes, you can share the Google Docs link with us by email as well. If you're not familiar with what Google Workspace is, which includes Google Docs and Google Drive, just know that it is free. You never have to pay for any of these services if you choose to use them. And if you have a Google address, like a Gmail, you probably already have access to this. This is something that is kind of packaged with your Gmail account, but you do not have to have a Gmail account in order to access them. You can use your non-Gmail email address to create a Google profile, and that Google profile will give you access to Google Drive, Google Docs, and all of the other things that are part of Google Workspace. But again, whichever method you choose to create your work that you want to share with us, just make sure that you send it to us in either a .doc, .pdf, or some other file format that we can open. And these are the two email addresses that you will be sending your work to, both me and Abraham together. Yeah, it's up to you. For those of you that may want to exchange information, you're welcome to do so in the chat. The Zoom chat itself will never be publicized. That's a tool that all of you can use to exchange information if that's what you choose. But again, as part of this class, we do ask that you follow our code of conduct and understand that whatever information is shared using the chat, it is private information that you do not have permission to share with the broader public. But again, this is just a quick note on how to use Google Workspace if you choose to use it. Y quiero repetir otra vez más, es importante que nos manden su trabajo a través de email, ya sea en versión .doc o .pdf, o pueden usar Google Docs o algún otro formato que es compatible con Google. Y aquí tienen los dos correos electrónicos que van a usar. El mío es luis@dstlarts.org y el de Abraham es abram@dstlarts.org. Y una nota sobre Google Workspace: si no conocen Google Workspace, no hay problema. Si tienen un correo electrónico que es por medio de Google, de Gmail, ustedes ya tienen acceso al Google Workspace y Google Docs. Si no tienen una cuenta de correo electrónica que sea de parte de Google, aún pueden crear un perfil con Google y así pueden acceder al Google Docs, Google Drive y todos los diferentes apps que tienen. Pero recuerden que es importante que nos envíen a través de email una versión .doc o .pdf o incluso un enlace de Google Docs para que podamos ver, abrir su trabajo y anotarlo. If anybody would like a kind of like technical run through on using Google Docs or anything like that, si gustan que les enseñe un poco más sobre cómo usar Google Docs, comuníquense conmigo y yo puedo ayudarles así personalmente. We can do like a little one-on-one session where I can kind of guide you on navigating Google Docs specifically. But yeah, just email me and we can set that up individually. As I mentioned, we do have, again, a code of conduct. It's fairly straightforward, but I do want to at least cover a couple of things. Follow the golden rule, treat others the way that you want to be treated, and remember that all of us have some form of privilege. It does not matter where we come from or what our status is in this world, all of us have some form of privilege. Therefore, it's important to be aware of whatever implicit biases we carry and understand that we all, because of those different positions of privilege that we all have, we should be conscious of that and kind of approach everyone's work with an open mind. We also do not believe that a formal education is required in order for you to be a fantastic writer. I have met people who maybe only had like about, what's considered primary school, elementary school level of education, a formal education, but they were able to tell some fantastic stories and some poetry that is just mind-blowing. So formal education has no bearing on your capacity for being a great artist. We also do not believe in censorship. You can write things that, may be sensitive in nature. You can curse. You can drop all the F-bombs that you need to, as long as it obviously fits within your story. But there is an exception to that rule, right? We do not accept, publish, or condone any form of hate speech, whether it's overt or implied. And we especially do not accept any kind of work that espouses intolerance, violence, or discrimination against any protected class. That means any person or group of people who may, be discriminated against because of their race, their ethnicity, cultural or religious background, socioeconomic class, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, immigration status, or political beliefs. Those are all considered protected classes. We do not believe in anyone's right to speak down to other people because of something that is outside of their control. So, again, we do not accept, publish, or condone any form of hate speech. And that also means that we do not accept any form of harassment. So no harassment will be tolerated in this program, either during the classes or outside of the classes, between individuals who are participating in our programs across the board. And that includes things like threats of violence, unsolicited sexual advances or lewd acts, forms of quid pro quo, or other abuses of people's trust and privacy. So like I did mention, if you want to share your email address or your phone number with folks in the class, just remember that is something that is not going to be publicized. It's not going to be shared with anyone outside of Zoom. No one in the live streams has access to the chats on Zoom. And if you decide to communicate with people using those shared methods, it's up to you to, respect that trust, that level of trust and the privacy of the individual sharing that information. So please keep that in mind. Also, we just like to remind people that while you're participating in our programs, you're ultimately reflecting our organization. You're representing our organization and our values. These are some of the things that we value. We value respect, we value people's privacy, and we value your ability to tell your story on your terms, so long as it respects other people in that process. If at any time you see someone or a group of people within the program not living up to the code of conduct, please let us know immediately, especially if it requires some kind of investigation. And if it does require some level of investigation, we ask that you give us the opportunity to come to the conclusions using all the facts. And if necessary, we will engage with a third-party investigator to help us in that process. If you feel like someone has violated any part of our code of conduct, please let us know, and also let our board of directors know at board@dstlarts.org. By email is perfect because that helps us begin the process of documenting things. So if at any point anybody is found to be somehow not living up to our code of conduct and is clearly in violation of it, they will be removed from our programs. So, we want to make sure that all of you feel safe in this space. También es necesario presentar aquí en español el código de conducto. Básicamente queremos que todos sigan la regla dorada. Trata a otra gente como ustedes esperan que ser tratados. Y también reconozcan sus prejuicios implícitos y posiciones de privilegio. Todos tenemos un nivel de privilegio en este mundo, no importa quién seamos. Y es importante que lo reconozcamos. Y por eso pedimos que siempre vengan a la clase con una mente abierta, con el propósito de mantener el respeto y un sentido de apoyo entre todos. Y por eso también pedimos que entiendan que la capacidad de uno para contar su cuento no se basa en o se determina por una educación formal. A mí me ha tocado conocer poetas que son poetas magníficos, que pues al último no tienen una educación formal más que la primaria. Y por eso digo que en mi experiencia no importa el nivel de educación. Lo que importa sobre todo es nuestra capacidad para contar nuestros cuentos. Igual no coincidimos con la censura, pero sin embargo no aceptamos, ni publicamos, ni toleramos cualquier forma de discurso de odio, ya sea explícito o implícito, más si promueve la intolerancia, violencia o discriminación en contra de cualquier persona o grupo de gente que sea motivado por su raza, etnicidad, herencia cultural o religiosa, clase socioeconómica, identidad de géneros, orientación sexual, discapacidad, estatus migratorio o creencias políticas. Traten todos con respeto. Mientras hagan eso, básicamente van a estar cumpliendo con nuestro código de conducto. Igual es importante respetar a toda la gente que viene a esta clase, igual como se respete a los modales de empleo. Y por eso también no se tolerará ninguna forma de acoso, tal como las amenazas de violencia, avances sexuales no solicitadas o actos vulgares, formas de quid pro quo o los abusos de confianza y privacidad. Por favor, entiendan que cualquier método de comunicación que se comparta aquí en el chat, eso es información privada y es importante no mandar notas ni comunicaciones no deseadas, especialmente sin el permiso de la otra persona. Si por alguna razón ven que alguien no esté coincidiendo con el código de conducto, por favor comuniquen eso con nosotros inmediatamente. Ya les presenté el correo electrónico de Abraham y el mío. Y también pedimos que manden un mensaje por email a nuestra mesa directiva usando board@dstlarts.org para que podamos iniciar una investigación para potencialmente expulsar a la persona que esté en violación de nuestro código de conducto. It's unfortunate that we have to say these things, but ultimately we are all better off for knowing that these are some of the expectations that we have of everyone in the class. As far as attendance goes, it's really important that consistent attendance, be practiced. It is your responsibility for letting us know if you're not able to attend, say within 24 hours before the expected absence. We all understand that sometimes there are unanticipated absences that may occur, emergencies, sudden illness, that type of thing. We understand with that. Just let us know, hey, you were feeling kind of under the weather that day, and that'll cover whatever informing you need to pass on, right? If you are excessively absent, especially if it's 3 times in a row, 3 weeks in a row, we will just drop you from the class. That doesn't mean that you're barred from returning. It just means that you will stop receiving the link to log on. And you will no longer get the emails letting you know that there are, new classes available for you to stream. But, this is something that is really just to help everyone benefit from your input, because your notes, your criticisms, your constructive criticism that you will be providing is really, really important for the development of other people's writing. And it's important for the development of your writing. Again, if you're going to be putting in the effort to create something, that someone else is too. So please, show them that equal respect. And if you want to get solid feedback on your writing, then be there to provide solid feedback for someone else. Igual la información en español. Si no van a poder asistir a una de las clases, por favor déjenos saber lo más pronto posible. Obviamente, en casos de emergencia, si uno no puede asistir, reconocemos que a veces eso pasa y pedimos que se comuniquen con nosotros lo más pronto posible. Pero si es algo que sí anticipan con antemano, hay que decir un par de semanas en anticipo, por favor déjenos saber por lo menos los 24 horas antes de que estén ausentes de la clase. Básicamente la razón por que tenemos una política de asistencia es porque el dar anotaciones o críticas constructivas sobre los trabajos de los demás es esencial para que todos puedan mejorar sus obras. Si van a estar ausentes más de 2 semanas, 3 semanas, y si son ausentes más de 3 veces de así consecutivas, se les dará de baja de la clase. Ya no van a recibir las notificaciones de que empieza la clase y Ya no van a recibir tampoco los mensajes que está listo la grabación. Eso no significa que no pueden seguir con la clase en otro tiempo, pero para la serie actual, eso sí es lo que va a pasar. Ya no van a recibir los avisos. All right. We're almost done, y'all. I promise. Any questions so far, though? Quick check-in. So here's a couple of tips if you've never been a part of a workshop, creative writing workshop in particular. Constructive criticism is a tool for all of us to just develop as writers, as artists. And it's important to remember a couple of things. Number one, approach all the work with respect and with an open mind. And it's really important that you go beyond just, I like it. If somebody presents something and you feel like it resonates with you, don't just say, I like it. Tell them why you like it. Constructive criticism is about giving people a sense of what is working really, really well. And if there's any kind of questions that are raised by the writing, by the artwork that is being presented, all of those things help us as artists to really craft our message in a way that makes sense. To that end, too, we do not critique content. We're not the ones that can tell you whether something is art or not, because everything is art to someone. But what we can say is whether or not the form, the way in which a person is presenting the work is really doing it justice. It's about effective communication, remember. So if you see something that is working for you in the piece of writing or in the piece of art, call it out. It could be a technique that you see that's being used over and over again, or a phrase, or maybe it's a moment in a piece of writing that really stands out for you. If that is something that is important, call it out. Say, hey, I saw this and I think this is working for you. And if anything, if you are finding that you are struggling with giving a person constructive criticism, you can always fall back to this rule. Give at least 2 examples of moments, phrases, or whatever that you feel are working, and maybe at least 1 example of something that could be either unclear or that could raise a question for an audience. That's always a good approach to giving constructive criticism. And when it comes to receiving and then implementing the constructive criticism, it's important to be attentive and engaged. Really listen to what people are saying. And if you have questions about that, feel free to engage in conversation. That's part of this, right? We're going to have conversations about your art, and they're meant to be supportive conversations. And understand that if people have questions about your writing or about your artwork, those may be similar to questions that someone outside of our group might have. Those questions are not necessarily meant to put you on defensive. It's not personal. Constructive criticism is never personal. It's really a way for you to, again, polish your work, help you craft it in a way that tells the story at its most elevated potential. That's generally speaking how I approach giving constructive criticism. And for those of you that have been here now in the program a few semesters, if not more, you might be able to kind of speak to the way in which we provide constructive criticism. Obviously, this is a very brief overview on how to give and receive constructive criticism, but I do want to give any of you who are returning a chance to talk about it a little bit too, and some things that work for you. So, for anybody that wants to share an approach that you like to take, please feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can raise your hands now. River in the chat wrote, "It's good. I didn't know how to give constructive criticism when I first came, but felt like I learned here." Great. Thank you for sharing that, River. River added, I like to tell what works for me because I don't want an author to chop it unless they want to. Yeah. Yo sé que en español la palabra crítica a veces o criticismo puede tener una connotación media negativa, pero al último estamos hablando de las críticas constructivas, no de críticas negativas ni críticas que existen para perjudicar a alguien. Estamos hablando de anotaciones, básicamente, notas que que vamos a dar sobre trabajos para ayudar a ustedes mejorar su cuento de manera, no es que sea un cuento malo ni nada de eso, sino para que se pueda elevar a su más alto potencial. Y para poder dar críticas constructivas es bueno llegar al más allá de me gusta. Si uno lee un poema que resuene dentro de su alma, diga por qué, no solo diga me gustó, me gusta, ¿verdad? Es importante dar detalles sobre qué es lo que está funcionando para ustedes. Jamás criticamos el contenido también. Nosotros no somos expertos ni nada. Quizá tengamos muchos años ya haciendo esto, pero eso no significa que nosotros podemos decir con certitud qué es lo que forma el concepto del arte, ¿verdad? El arte bueno y el arte malo no existe para nosotros. Y por eso no criticamos lo que es el contenido, ¿verdad? El tema sobre una obra de arte. Pero lo que sí se vale dar, hay que decir críticas, es la forma en que se está comunicando, que se está comunicando y ven que esa idea se está diciendo de manera distinta, de manera impactante. Hay que aplaudirlo. Si está notando que hay frases o técnicas o incluso momentos que son centrales al trabajo, resuéltenlos, ¿verdad? Hagan que eso sea como el punto de la conversación. Hágalos resaltar. Y si están batallando un poco con dar críticas constructivas, al mínimo pueden dar 2 ejemplos de momentos o frases o cosas que están funcionando bien dentro de la obra de arte. Y también es bueno dar al mínimo un ejemplo de algo que esté formando, hay que decir preguntas, que esté provocando preguntas o que se necesite aclarar como parte de la conversación, porque al último eso es, como digo, lo que va a hacer una obra de arte llegar a su máximo potencial. Y cuando se trata de recibir estas críticas es bueno escuchar, tomar el tiempo de escuchar lo que dice la gente y reconocer que si hay algunas preguntas que son preguntas recurrentes en la conversación, eso significa que no solo el grupo está sintiendo algo que quizás se puede pulir, sino también va a ser algo que su audiencia, su público, ya más allá de la clase, va también a empezar a notar. Miss Mary wrote in the chat, I received such really good constructive criticism that helped me to clarify questions and expand in areas. I grew and learned a ton. I was very scared because at first I felt insecure about what I wrote, but the feedback was helpful. Gracias. Thank you for sharing that, Miss Mary. I'm glad that you felt comfortable with the process. We really aren't here to bring anyone down. Like I said, we may have been doing this now for years, but by no means do we ever claim to be experts. Just because I have a master's degree in creative writing does not make me a master. That is far from it. I'm equally a student of poetry as well. There are some things that might help. So we do have here a quick little vocab breakdown. I'm not going to go over these. These are, again, part of the packet. You can always review these later, and we might also cover some of these during the lessons as well. Thank you, Max, for sharing too in the chat. I loved that a peer reads your poem or original and imperfect in-process works. When the group's interpretations and even questions are shared, words or lines and their meanings, and that others genuinely care, those are soul connections. Como dije anteriormente, no tenemos un vocabulario técnico que a veces sí usamos durante las clases. All of these vocab words are words that we at some point might cover during any one of the sessions. They're not necessarily meant to be the end-all be-all of poetry techniques, but having, I think, the words and their definitions available to you, you may find useful at some point. Pero al último, lo único que quiero repasar antes de que terminemos es, the contact us page. So contact us in the event that you're going to be away from the program for a couple of weeks. It's just a courtesy. Let us know that you'll be out and we'll be able to get you caught up if necessary. Also, feel free to reach out if you have any kind of questions related to the program or any concerns. We are always trying to improve on the way in which we teach and the ways in which we create accessibility for all of you. There's certain things that are within our capacity and certain things that aren't, but as much as possible, we try to really be there for you. So let us know if there's ways in which we can make things better for you. Also, if you need technical assistance with either Submittable, Google Workspace, which includes Google Docs, Google Drive, all that stuff, or Zoom, I can a lot of times schedule time one-on-one to meet with you and discuss things. And try and at least walk you through it as much as possible. Also, it's not often that it happens, but periodically it has happened where outside organizations or community members have questions. You might be excited about participating in our workshops and, you're sharing that with other people. And if they have questions about it, reach out, let them know that they can contact us directly. Or, you can maybe just let us know and we can come out to your group or whatever the case might be. And we could even do a presentation and hopefully have more people joining in. A couple of last things to remember too, as I mentioned before, you're representing DSTL Arts and our mission in the community through your involvement. So kind of keep that in mind. Please adhere to the code of conduct and support the community that we're all building together. Each one of you is now part of our arts fam. And as this little family continues to grow, just be there for each other. It's always helpful to just remember that we're in this together. We're all part of the larger team. Also, we do not condone plagiarism, which I did mention before, and we do not allow the use of generative AI in basically all parts of the workshop. So we won't publish, we won't present, or otherwise accept any kind of artwork that's created using either generative AI or that features artwork or quotes that are unauthorized from other people. So if you're downloading memes and you're using a meme as part of your visual art that you might submit, that might not be something that we have clearance to use because of the way that artistic rights protect the work of others. So keep those things in mind. If you have a question about that, especially when it comes to the use of quotes, ask us for clarification. We can usually give you a pretty straight answer from the get-go. There are certain exceptions to fair use law and copyright law, but we really don't want to be taking advantage of another person's artwork without giving them proper attribution or paying for the royalties if that's necessary. Also, oh yes, I see a hand raised from Max.
Sorry, this may be totally inappropriate for this right now, and if so, I can totally wait to. Anyway, I've been creating this book that I wanted to publish on KDP, and basically, I just wanted you, if you could, just to go in a little bit on the quotes. I know that like there are some materials, after like 100 years, or there are some websites where you can look that are open source that you can quote freely. And then if we did want to use someone's quote, like even in a poem that I wrote, a poem about a dog that was like Anatoly Frank, but like how would I go about knowing, is this okay if I use it just on a daily, if you have time?
Yeah, I think the general rule is, if it's a quote that is, like you mentioned already, over 100 years old and has no specific trust or other entity that can claim a copyright on it, then that's something that is open for fair use. If the thing that you're publishing is going to be either free or specifically for educational purposes, you can quote contemporary works of art without having to pay anything. But those would be the only real exceptions to the rule. Any other time, it's just not possible to reproduce something for your individual monetary gain or for the gain of another person publishing without having the clearance. And in order to get the clearance, you got to pay for the use rights. So it's not always the easiest to ensure that you can gain the clearances. For that, you would have to work with a copyright lawyer. But again, if it's something that is well over, even I would say 150 years is a good kind of cutoff. If it's older than 150 years old, then it's probably okay to use it under fair use law. But again, you're just better off working with a lawyer to ensure that it is available that way. But thank you for asking, and I think that again, that's a good example of like when in doubt, ask. We can usually clarify it for you on the spot. Also, as I mentioned before, all of us that are on the DSTL Arts team, we are artists. We're working artists. We do other work outside of DSTL Arts, including freelance work. So because of that, if you want graphic design services, photography services, or any other kind of like copy editing, copywriting services, just know that DSTL Arts itself is not a design agency. We all work on our own, and we are, we do charge our own separate rates. So, you can ask us if you want for a quote, but just don't expect it to be free. Because DSTL Arts operates within a specific our specific programs. While those programs are free for the community, very directed, very individualized services may not be. And to that end, also, DSTL Arts does not accept unsolicited manuscripts for publication. I've had a lot of people kind of approach me and saying, hey, I want to publish this book. Can you publish it for us? For me? And my answer is pretty much always the same. No, DSTL Arts does not publish things that are unsolicited. We only publish them if it's done through our programs. And if that person does not want to necessarily be a part of our programs, then I can always refer them to other programs and services that I'm aware of that might support their goals a little bit faster and more efficiently than what we can do through our programs. So if you come across anybody like that, you can always refer them to me and I can pass them on to the services that I'm aware of. Y aquí, una vez más, tenemos la misma información en español. Ya más o menos hablé sobre el plagio y el uso de la inteligencia artificial en nuestros programas. No se acepta ningún trabajo que use el IA y tampoco el plagio. Y también lo más importante es que sigan el código de conducta, porque al último eso es lo que nos va a apoyar entre todos, ¿verdad? Vamos a tratar todos con respeto y igual sentimos que deberían de tratarnos con el mismo respeto. Si tienen alguna pregunta o alguna duda sobre cualquier cosa, en particular el uso de citas dentro de poesía o algo así, pueden preguntar y casi siempre puedo tener una respuesta, si no en el mismo momento, dentro de unos cuantos días. Y si necesitan ayuda técnica o si tienen alguna duda o recomendación para mejorar los programas de DSTL Arts, por favor, también comuníquense con nosotros porque siempre buscamos de mejorar lo que ofrecemos a la comunidad. Y también para la persona que quizá esté buscando servicios fuera de lo que ofrecemos por medio de los programas de DSTL Arts, como artistas profesionales, nosotros sí damos o ofrecemos servicios de fotografía o de diseño gráfico o incluso también de escritura profesional. Pero como artistas profesionales, nosotros también cobramos a nivel pues nivel profesional. Entonces, si necesita ese tipo de servicio, comuníquense con nosotros afuera del tiempo de las clases. Y si conocen a alguien que solo quiere publicar un libro, por ejemplo, nosotros no aceptamos manuscritos no solicitados para publicación. Yo conozco de otros servicios que sí hacen eso, que sí ofrecen ese tipo de servicio, incluso servicio de diseño gráfico, etc. Y si conocen a alguien que solo quiere publicar, entonces se pueden comunicar conmigo y yo les puedo dar la referencia adicional. And the last thing that I just want to say is welcome. Welcome to our #ArtsFam. Nuestro ArtsFam, como mencioné hace rato, somos una familia pequeña, pero siempre creciendo. Y estamos muy entusiasmados de tenerlos aquí en la clase como parte del programa y parte de nuestra familia. As long as you want us to be a part of your pool of resources, we will be here for you. In the personal, in the creative, in the business, whichever way you want us to support you, we'll do our best to be there for you. And if you have any questions at any point, you can always email us directly. All of us, our email addresses are listed on the screen now. And again, you're welcome to bookmark our website and follow us on social media using @DSTL Arts. Again, the main reason why we do this is because we know what it feels like to not have support, sometimes even from within your own community. And for that reason, we are here to support you because we know what it feels like and we don't want you to have to go through it as long as we have gone through it ourselves. So again, welcome everyone. It is my pleasure to have you here. I hope that, for the following 14 weeks of Conchas y Café, we have some amazing and engaging conversations. Yo sé que ustedes que están aquí hoy van a, pues, you're all going to bring the heat. I already know that. I'm excited about this particular series. The theme is, I think, also a theme that really speaks to where we're at right now at this time in history. So yeah, I'm glad that we're going to be exploring the concept of de aquí y allá, from here and there. So welcome everyone. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes without the live streams if you have any questions. But I'm looking forward to seeing you all next week. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.